What's up? I'm Jim Barry. Welcome once again to Miami Life, the show made for and about South Florida. Today we revisit some of our favorite stories and profiles, and today we start with one that has the potential to impact many families in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. It's in Tallahassee, where a bill rolling back child labor laws is making its way through the state legislature. It's on its way now to the state Senate after clearing the House. The legislation would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to work more than 8 hours a day, even when they have school the next day, and work over 30 hours a week during the school year with no mandated meal breaks. It would also remove overnight work restrictions on 14 and 15-year-olds who are homeschooled, attend virtual school, or who have already graduated. Now, Governor Ron DeSantis favors the proposed changes, saying they'll make it easier for Florida's youth to work.
What's wrong with expecting our young people to be working part-time now? I mean, that's how it used to be when I was growing up.
However, critics say the proposed legislation is a thinly veiled attempt to have Florida's teens fill a void in the workforce left by the deportation of undocumented workers. We're going to take a deep dive into this topic now with Daniel Tilley. He is the legal director for the American Civil Liberties Union of Florida. Daniel, the state may have a labor shortage now that it is cracking down on undocumented labor, but should kids be the one to replace them in the workforce?
This is really an astonishing set of bills. It's essentially setting current child labor protections on fire. And when we see so much instability in the world, we see trillions of dollars being evaporated from the economy, what we really need to be doing is preparing kids for what is right now an uncertain future. And the best way to do that is to ensure a strong education for kids. And let's just be real about why this is happening. It is, as you suggested, it is an attack on migrants to rid the state of so many people who are essential to the economy of the state, people who all work across so many sectors, particularly in agriculture and also construction, but across the entire economy. And the idea that teenagers are going to fill all these jobs is frankly just ridiculous.
Well, you heard what the governor said. He said he had a job as a kid, so what's wrong with kids working?
Look, I had a job. I worked at a county jail when I was 15 years old. I worked at Chick-fil-A, I worked at Olive Garden. I had jobs. That was fine, that was good. I wasn't working 40 hours a week at Chick-fil-A. I wasn't working till 3 a.m. at any of these places. It's critical that we have some protections in place. And the fact is, child labor violations in Florida have been steadily increasing since for the past decade, really. And so the idea that we should just further reduce the protections that already exist is preposterous.
What protections should be in place to protect kids?
Look, if we want to ensure kids are set up for success, there's lots of ways to do that. We could prioritize Medicaid expansion. We could prioritize giving families access to affordable housing. There's all sorts of things that we could do, but taking them out of school, essentially, or making them much less likely to be prepared for the future is just not the way to go. And
Florida's not the only state where this is on the table. From what I've read, there are at least 27 other states where this has become an issue. Why all of a sudden nationally has this become a hotbed thing?
I think it comes from this very deep anti-immigrant sentiment from the politicians in power of the current moment. They are doing whatever they can to drive people out of Florida, and it really doesn't make any sense. Let's look at some of the things that have been passed recently. An anti-immigrant bill that criminalizes re-entry to Florida for undocumented individuals. That was just put on hold by a federal judge when we and others recently began litigating that. There's a bill that creates a mandatory death penalty for certain undocumented individuals, and those are words I never thought in my life I would utter, mandatory death penalty. But the reality is we're not going to criminalize our way out of our problems, and we're not going to execute our way out of our problems. So we should be focusing on what we can do to ensure that communities and families thrive, not seek to destabilize them.
Let's talk about kids working, and of course there's also been an issue of kids taking jobs that are frankly should be just reserved for adults, like say dangerous construction jobs. So what protections could be in place to maybe allow kids to work more but keep them away from employment situations that could be harmful to them?
For some of this stuff, it may just be enforcing the protections that already exist. Like I said, there's been an increasing number of Department of Labor violations, but do we think that the Department of Labor in this federal administration is really going to be cracking down on child labor violations? I don't think so. In fact, what we see in this drive for supposed government efficiency, and of course we all want efficiency, but what we see instead is that the dismantling of government watchdogs, the Office of Inspector General and all these different agencies are being completely removed. So if we want to hold government accountable, if we want government to do its job in making sure that people are following the law, you don't dismantle the government watchdog. So there's lots of things that we could do already, which is simply not further breaking the law.
How likely is it that this bill will gain some traction and move to the legislature and pass in Florida?
We're doing whatever we can to oppose it, but it is moving forward currently.
Wow. Do you see a trend here that in essence is going to create two classes of people, the educated and the uneducated, who don't have the opportunity to further their education because of laws like this?
It is the case that marginalized communities are going to be the ones who are most pressured into doing more work and taking time away from school. And so I think, yes, this is going to have a disproportionate impact on certain communities.
What should parents do if they have an issue with this?
Look, as was previously stated in the clip, there's carve-outs for these laws already, where if kids truly need to be engaged in work that their parents strongly believe in, and they can make that work, there's ways to get approval for that.
Gotcha. Well, the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has led to fear and uncertainty in South Florida's immigrant community. So what is the best course of action for undocumented residents living here? A local immigration attorney breaks down their options.
I think everybody has to fear the fact that they may be detained and deported at any time, but criminals are on the top of the list. Those are the individuals that are being actively sought out.
Immigration attorney Lizette Sierra says the Trump administration's immigration crackdown may be targeting criminals, but many law-abiding people, she says, who are here as undocumented also need to worry.
Although she's been here for 30 years, she could face detention, may have to ask for some type of bond to be released, show her nexus to the community, which she has plenty of it, but that's still a horrible situation to be in and to have to go through, especially after having living here for 30 years.
And you heard the real fear. I think a lot of immigrants would fear that if I do go forward and try to follow the right steps, I could get whisked away. So is there a real risk there?
Well, there is, but I believe that if they do the alien registration and they have that on their person, the thought there is that individuals who are following those rules will be provided an opportunity to either depart voluntarily on their own if they have an order of removal, or they go to immigration court. They'll be facing removal proceedings, and she would have an opportunity. She's been here for 30 years. I don't know the ages of her children, but she has children, grandchildren. Maybe she's eligible for cancellation of removal. Maybe her son is going to be 21 years old soon. Maybe you can petition for her. There are waivers that can be filed. They're long, they're lengthy processes, but they are available, and we can keep people in the country while we are doing these applications.
CBS News Miami anchor Betty Nguyen talked to a grandmother who came to the States illegally 35 years ago. She's worried about being stopped one day and immediately deported, even though she's never had legal trouble and paid her taxes. Would that help her case?
That definitely helps. If she is eligible for cancellation removal, that's a relief where an individual's lived here for more than 10 years, are people of good moral character, she has not committed any crimes, never been arrested, and she may have a qualifying relative, a child or a spouse who's a resident or citizen who would suffer extreme hardship. So, paying your taxes, that's showing your good moral character, following the law up until where you can, because obviously being present and undocumented is not following the law, but she's doing everything else that she can.
Well, up next on Miami Life, being an entertainer on a cruise ship requires hard work before you hit smooth sailing.
Horns, when you get to make sure you're driving all the way through it.
Coming up, an encore look at what it takes for Carnival Cruise Line performers to be ready for their shows at sea. Miami Life, back in a moment. Welcome back. Not long ago, we got a rare behind-the-scenes look at how performers for Carnival Cruise Lines get ready for their elaborate shows at sea. A top-flight musician is in charge of getting them in tip-top shape. He is this week's person of interest. It's early evening, and the young talent is pouring into the massive rehearsal studios at Carnival Cruise Lines. All of them have shown star potential in their winning auditions. The dancers, the high wire artists, and the musicians. They come from all over the world. When they arrive, they don't know each other from the man in the moon. But after weeks of grueling rehearsal, they're expected to be tight-knit and cruise ship ready.
I love how we're all just thrown together and they're like, be friends, be family, but here are some amazing shows to do.
Horns, when you get to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, make sure you're driving all the way through it.
At the center of it all is rehearsal director Doug Emery. His job, polish up the music acts the way they used to back in the day at Motown.
Nice job.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Okay, guys, I have an announcement to make. You're hired. That's what I think. Emery, however, wants to make sure this young band connects with its cruise ship audience.
Also, make sure that, hey, if I want you to say hey or if I want you to clap, you're directing me, right? The audience doesn't know what you want them to do. So if you want them to clap, invite them to clap. If you want, hey, I need your help on this. Hey, whatever.
Years ago, Emery himself was a cruise ship performer before he graduated to work with some of the biggest names in the business, from the Bee Gees to Barbara Streisand.
D minor?
D. Well, he decided it was time to settle down to a less hectic pace.
It's been extremely rewarding in a way that I wasn't expecting. Set my skill set in front of me and go, okay, here's what I'm an expert at. Where do I go with this? And this just sort of fell in my lap.
Now, every day, he sees the exuberance of young entertainers who will soon be shipped off to months at sea. You love it?
I love it.
Why?
Someone told me I couldn't do it, so I made sure that I could do it.
This has been my dream since I was a little girl. So the fact that I get to live it every day with this amazing cast, it's incredible.
You really have to trust this guy.
Yeah, I do. I know. And I don't even know him that well. So.
Yeah.
You want to go? You're up next?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Now, full disclosure, Emery has joined me on stage for a few shows over the years. Sad as a gypsy, serenading the moon. He is a music production whiz who, thanks to Carnival, now seems quite content sharing his musical genius with the next generation. Had a lot of fun with that chick for sure. Still to come, celebrating 100 years of the Magic City. A brand new play details the early days of Miami and the larger-than-life pioneers who helped build it. And meet a local lawyer who's got a creative side hustle. Why his paintings, jewelry, and stained glass artwork have become big hits. Well, one of my favorite sayings is, we are all more than one thing. Our regular feature, Side Hustle, proves that point time and time again. And today we take another look at a local attorney who finds time to display his creative side through art.
I don't know if we've heard back from the prosecutor on the case that we have.
By day, attorney Randy Maltosh is a legal jack of all trades. The UM Law School grad got his start in the state attorney's office before going out on his own.
I refer to it as a blend practice. So by blend, I mean that I have everything from, it's all in criminal defense, it's all related to criminal defense. But by blend, I mean I have serious felonies to criminal misdemeanors to traffic citations. So everything in between.
When Maltosh's legal day is done, he unleashes his creative side. At home, he works on everything from detailed stained glass work to oil paintings.
I always refer to myself as a conflicted human being.
Maltosh's creative itch is nothing new. He put himself through college by making jewelry, even making jewelry for his wife to wear. Even though he loved being an artist, his practical side kept him in law school.
This piece has 2,700 pieces of glass, and you can see how these pieces of glass here, they are actually cut out and then put in.
Before long, Maltaj settled into working on stained glass, and when a friend urged him to open his own studio, he scoffed at the idea.
And my first response to him is, "Are you out of your mind? What do I know about starting a stained glass studio?"
But he did. One of his first pieces included jazz legends Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk. Music speaks in much of his art. Another piece ended up at the Miami-Dade County Courthouse.
A judge that I was friendly with did buy a panel for the courthouse, and we who labor here seek only truth.
Now his home and law office are decorated with stained glass works of rock legends like the Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, and Tina Turner. And also one of his favorites, a tribute to Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
I love the fact that I had all 5 of these people, these band members, singing together, singing a really emotional song about life. You know, like kind of letting people know, listen, go ahead, move forward, live your life, but should I fall behind, wait for me. And it's just such a wonderful message.
Maltaj's home and office are full of his creations. He has made maybe 12,000 bracelets. His stained glass talents, painstaking work using hundreds of pieces of glass, soon carried over to the canvas.
With art, with the painting, there's just something about it where you look at it and I say to myself, I don't know how I did this.
This very busy lawyer has discovered that this is his happy place. The joy has come in discovering layers of his own talent.
I've never found anything as rewarding in my life that I've done as painting.
Good for him. If you know somebody with a unique side hustle or hobby, please let us know. Just email us at cbsmiami@cbs.com. Be sure to put side hustle in your subject line, and who knows, maybe they will end up on Miami Life. All right, when we come back, the early days of Coral Gables, the good, the bad, and the sensational, all the subject of a new play. We'll give you a backstage look at the show celebrating the City Beautiful. Well, the history of Coral Gables is full of big personalities, big drama, and big moments. As the city marks its centennial, one woman is bringing the story of the Gables to life on stage in a brand new play. We got a backstage look at Greetings from Paradise.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I need to go play in my sandbox, of which there are plenty in Florida.
The city of Coral Gables is getting a special present for its centennial. The new play, Greetings from Paradise, tells the story of the pioneers who transformed Miami into an international destination. George Merrick, who built Coral Gables, Doc Dahmers, the first mayor of the Gables, and Carl Fisher, considered the father of Miami Beach.
It's just interesting to see Doc Dahmers come to life and George Merrick come to life and Miami Beach with Carl Fisher coming to life, and to see them live on stage is very exciting.
The play is the brainchild of June Thompson Morris. She was inspired by the childhood stories she heard from her grandparents, Lucy May and Robert Thompson, about their early years in Miami, and crossing paths with the visionaries the play focuses on.
I heard this story when I was a little girl. I heard it directly from my grandmother's lips, how she came down to Miami at the ripe old age of 19 to meet up with a man she met at a party back in Indianapolis, and she didn't know what to expect when she got here.
The play makes it clear it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Miami's founding fathers. The Florida land boom of the 1920s quickly went bust, and the 1926 hurricane sent everybody back to the drawing board.
Remember, there wasn't air conditioning back then. There were lots of mosquitoes. So I just can't even imagine why anyone was down here. But these people really believed in Miami and believed in the future of Miami, and they prevailed.
The show incorporates actual archival photos and film from Miami's early days. At the heart of the story is the contrast between the idealistic Merrick and his plans for Coral Gables.
I've read about your ideas, Mr. Merrick. Inspired by the City Beautiful movement.
And Fisher, who saw Miami Beach as a new playground for the rich and famous.
The difference between Carl Fisher and George Merrick, I thought, was a fascinating story that nobody really knows or has really thought much about.
Welcome to the family. I hope you find that what we're creating here is something very special.
Jim Ballard dove into the history books when he was cast as George Merrick. He couldn't believe how much was accomplished in such a short time.
And then he built an empire, built the Biltmore, built 40 miles of canals from the water, from the ocean, so you could say they had waterfront property in Coral Gables. It's fascinating.
Morris, a former TV news reporter, is working to develop a movie based on her play because she says there is still much more of the story to be told.
I really want to tell the full story of how Miami came to be the magic city after all, and also Coral Gables, my hometown.
Greetings from Paradise is running through this weekend at the Miracle Theater in Coral Gables. You can find information on dates and tickets on our website at cbsmiami.com. That is going to do it for this week's edition of Miami Life. Don't forget, we'll see you every Thursday for a brand new episode at 6:30 on the stream. You can also watch all Miami Life episodes on demand on our YouTube channel. I'm Jim Berry. Thanks for watching. See you soon.